Hafade. I'm Jessica with the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. And as we celebrate our 10-year anniversary, we want to celebrate the women in business in our community. And so today on Women Rising in Conversation, we're going to feature 4 fabulous boss babes who, when everyone decided they were going to veer right or go right, they veered left. They went into entrepreneurship to become their own boss. Let's talk with them to figure out how they dealt with it, how they took that risk, took all the challenges, and came out successful. So join me for Women Rising in Conversation. Well, thank you guys for being here today. I'm so excited to just kind of have this conversation and talk about running a business with you guys. You know, as a business owner, I know it's never easy. So, we're gonna just kind of talk about what makes it work. But before we do that, introduce yourselves. Let's kind of get to know each other.
Yeah, okay, so hi everyone, my name is Lourdes. I'm one of the co-founders of GIHA, a local network that was founded after the devastating effects of COVID-19. And it was our attempt to help rebuild the community in a way that accesses and utilizes technology. And so our attempt is to bring to light Guam's community, Guam's businesses, and help people establish their business and act as that resource and connect more people within our island with each other to help each other grow.
Nice. Okay.
Hello ladies, my name is Mika Caldwell and I'm one of the partners and owners of Archway Inc. You probably know Archway more as Infusion Coffee and Tea. I don't know, we serve coffee.
Our favorite thing. Yeah, I don't think anyone should live without coffee, so thank you very much.
Hafa ladies, my name is Marie Guerrero. I co-own B&G Pacific, which is a catering company. You may know us as 3 Squares down in Tamuning. I also have a wholesale business, Everything Guam, and we manufacture Laddie Stone cookies. So that's what I do.
Nice.
So cookies in restaurants.
Fantastic.
My name's Jamey Meteer. I'm the owner of Idlewild, which is a boutique over in Harmon. So we have a brick and mortar space where we sell local, handmade, and local art. We prioritize carrying Guam makers and collectors. And we really are a sort of collective of other small business owners. It's a great space to be a part of.
Well, wonderful. You know, as we all sit here, we're all looking at each other, and, you know, the thing that we have in common is everyone here is an entrepreneur, you know, something that's never easy, but everyone, you know, took that leap of faith, figured out, hey, let's not swim, let's dive. But, you know, I was listening to a podcast one day, and someone had said that entrepreneurship, when it comes to that you're born with it. What do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think you were born with it, or did it just end up like a light bulb one day? Where do you go?
I would have to say, I kind of grew up in a traditional Chamorro household. So I would say my dad and my mom kind of groomed us up to be, you work hard. You just have this innate natural hospitality. And I had a big family. So I think if it wasn't for them just kind of grooming you up, I never thought I would have owned anything, but you get what you put in, you know? So the more you put in, the bigger reward that comes out. So I think I would have to say that it was my upbringing.
Nice.
It was my upbringing. So you work hard and you kind of move forward, and then one day you look around and you're like, gosh, I own that, you know? So it's something I never thought I would be, but it just kind of naturally, organically happened that way. So yeah. I think it came from how you were raised up.
Yeah, good point. Lou, you actually were a chemist before, right? Your degree's in chemistry. Tell us a little bit about how you got to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so like she said, I was a chemist my degree is in chemistry, and I worked as a research assistant for around 5 years. And within that time frame, I worked as a chemist. But I realized while working throughout those years that I didn't love it. And I started to get I noticed, angry about the experiences that I started having and wondering, is this it? I feel like there's more to life than this almost repeated process. And I knew that I could do more, and I found creative outlets to explore that. So I would take courses online that I would either pay for or find for free. And then through that, I found things that I actually enjoyed. And I think that's what being a chemist actually did for me. It made me realize what I don't enjoy, while also obtaining the skills that you develop as a researcher, as a scientist, and applying that elsewhere.
Absolutely. I guess, Mika, she has a good point of just having to love what you do. I guess, when we talk about loving what we do and passion, how important do you think that is in your business?
Well, I think that's very important. I think a lot of people go into business, and I've heard people say, oh, I want to go into business because I want to make my own hours, I want to be my own boss, but then they don't realize how many hours you have to put in and how there is no such thing as a day off. There is no such thing as a vacation. I mean, 24/7, you're always on. And if you don't love this, you're going to drown, so you really have to love what you're doing, not just, the products that you're selling, but, the people that you're working with. In our business, of course, I love the coffee business, but the other side of the business that we don't talk a lot about is just, how do you say, are the people that work for you, and we have a lot of young adults that work for us. We have a lot of kids that are just coming out of high school. It's their first job, and we hire them, we train them, we groom them, and I watch them leave us and go on to bigger and better. But it really makes me proud to think that we've had a lot to do with a lot of these young adults, moving on and building their careers.
I don't know if you remember this, but my brother actually worked for you, right out of high school. He might have been in high school too, down over when you guys were in the mall. That was, but I mean, you look at where he started, and now he owns his own business and he's running his own little cafe as well. So, it definitely, instilling work ethics and whatnot, and really just starting these guys out, on the right foot is going to really take them, and you can see them grow within their space within the business. So that's very admirable. Yeah. And then Jamey, I mean, your story is very interesting because your story came, you have a very different journey when it came to entrepreneurship. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I was actually a studio artist for about a decade. While I was living in the States, I came in contact with this awesome group of women who were starting a boutique where they sold local art, but majority vintage and secondhand, which was becoming very, very popular, of, bringing in these pieces for your home or for your wardrobe that had a lot of character, that had great designs. So they reached out to me as an artist to come showcase in their space. And I had loved vintage and secondhand, and, just finding ways to support sustainable fashion throughout my life. And so being able to see them doing that and kind of organizing this space where artists and makers and collectors could kind of all come together, it really became this beacon in the community. And I felt so supported as an artist, I felt supported as a woman, I felt supported as a mom. And so coming out here to Guam, I really hoped there was something else like that there, because I had such a positive experience. And again, I'd always planned to continue my studio art. I had planned to teach, pottery and ceramics for a time. But after living here for about 6 months, I saw that there was a niche that needed to be filled. There was a need, especially after, the waves of loss from COVID and people losing their jobs. And there are a lot of small businesses that needed kind of a foot up. And again, I had found so much success and joy in what I had experienced at this other boutique with their blessing and their mentorship. They, guided me through the process of opening up our own space. And far and away, I feel like Guam's makers, their artists, their collectors are so enthusiastic about finding this creative community that we've been able to bring together. So I really feel like the only thing I'm very good at in terms of my job is networking and being able to connect with these other artists and say like, hey, I've been in your shoes as a small maker, a small business owner, a small artist, working out of my, second bedroom or my closet or my garage. I know how hard it is to sell your work. I know how hard it is to market. Come be part of this space where we're all going to support each other. It's been really incredible.
Yeah. No, and I'm a strong believer in networking. Guam is such a small community. Marie, you have so much experience just with networking. You've been in the business, for many years. Tell us a little bit about how networking really plays such an essential part in running a business.
Oh my goodness. I think networking is really the key. You find that in networking, people tend to trust you. And I think the more genuine you are in your networking and trying to be a part of the community, you'll see that they're going to support you as you come up. So there are so many groups here to get involved with that do good for the community. And I think the more you pour yourself into that, it comes back to you tenfold.
Absolutely.
So I think absolutely networking is important. Some of the local community clubs that they're at, their Rotary Club, other small business organizations, and then you support each other. You find that's the best way, and it always comes back. It always comes back.
Yeah, and I mean, being a business owner myself, I know time is non-existent. It's like where do we find that time? How do we do it? How do we get involved with the community? How do we network? When are we going to do this? When we have a pile of work, at our office or whatnot. But people figure it out. And I read a book that talked about, I forget who the author is, but it said the book was entitled "Everything is Figure-outable."
Marie.
Yes.
Something or another. Really good book.
Yeah, I loved that book. But, it really is. I mean, everything is figure-outable. It all, everything works for a reason. I think, we're on a journey. You've been on a journey that kind of just took you into different areas. Tell us a little bit about how you had to figure it out.
Oh, yeah. So I've been in multiple fields. My undergraduate degree is in chemistry, and then during that time, or after I got my degree, I went immediately into my master's program in environmental science, and I initially thought, okay, maybe I'll do something eco-related and help the environment. And so I was doing research for about 3 years within my program. Realized, this wasn't really for me, even though I dedicated so much time to it within the science field. And so during that time, I was also working pretty much like part-time jobs throughout my entire undergrad, which also gave me a taste of what I didn't like. And immediately after that, I thought, okay, I don't want to do this. Why don't I just go and try out law? And so I was studying the LSAT for about 6 months straight, and that meant while I was actually going to work, I would leave work after 5 and then go to a coffee shop and then stay there until 10 just to
Infusion, right?
It was 10 o'clock. Yeah, because it wasn't open until then. Yeah, and so
It's okay, I forgive you.
and you're always so busy, so I'm it's always so packed in there. But so I would go to a coffee shop, stay there till 10, and then I took the LSAT. I didn't even look at my score. I was like, oh my god, this isn't it. Like, I don't expect to be reading, a bunch of literature for a case my entire life. And then I ended up going into web design. Learned all about that, learned about UX, UI design, started another business, which was an anime-inspired workout apparel that attempted to build a community of women who loved anime, loved working out. But it was tough financially to do that, and it wasn't sustainable for me. And so this year I got in more depth with UX, UI design, and realize that there is a problem in Guam when it comes to people understanding how to start a business, getting connected to those resources, being able to market their business. And that's where I kind of found this connection between my love for design, my love for development, software development, and then the connection with my home, Guam. And so it took trial and error to get where I am now. And I don't think this is my defining moment, but it is a moment in my life that I really appreciate.
And talking about trial and error, I think I was listening to someone who talked about failure and who looked at failure as something great, right? A lot of people take failure and they're like, oh, you're not supposed to fail. Oh, you got a bad grade. Oh, and it looks as something wrong. But, the outlook from her was very different. It was, they would go around the room at night and they would talk about what was great, but what they failed at, right? And how, Mika, for you, why do you think you're kind of understanding where I'm going? Why do you agree with that?
This is actually the third business that I've been a part of. My first 2 businesses failed. I went into debt. But I have to say, if I didn't go through all of that, I don't think that I would be where I am today. Now, granted, I have wonderful partners and I couldn't have done it without them. But everything that I've learned all these years, everything that I failed on the first 2 times, okay, don't do that, don't go in debt, don't put everything on your credit cards. Without that, you can't be. And it humbles you, I feel like if you're one of the lucky ones that goes into business for the first time and becomes very successful, good for you. But it builds character along the way. And I really think a lot of times it's not about, the end goal. It's really the journey that gets you there. And that's your defining moment.
I definitely would have to agree.
Yeah.
I think that if we didn't go through all of those failures in the beginning of B&G, I mean, we're on plan like D, all the way stronger. Yeah, you have to, if you didn't fail the first time, you wouldn't be where you are. If you didn't fail the second time, the only thing is you just got to fall forward. You know what I mean? And then make sure you dust yourself off and move on to the next. But yeah, absolutely.
And running a business, I think just in the last couple years, just here in Guam, has took us through like a whirlwind of a roller coaster for any business owner. I remember, just from the pandemic, I would sit there and be like counting, looking at my finances, saying, how many months do we have to stay alive? Like having that real talk about it, of just trying to figure things out. And, it was a hard time, but, everyone came above it, and everyone had to figure it out, You kind of actually started your business on Guam, right? During the pandemic, or
yeah, it was wild. Well, and I think that was a huge motivator, though, is seeing so many people struggling and knowing that I had a way to kind of create a concrete base for them to kick off of. Because, again, I'd been there. I knew how much time and energy and the exhaustion that came with just treading water in your own small business. So, yeah. I remember I didn't know what my team members looked like because they all had masks on at first. So the first time we were able to talk in masks, like, it's all fresh and new. And same with the the vendors, the other small businesses in my business. Like, I don't know who you are, and they're like, we've been doing business for 6 months. Like, oh my goodness. So, but it's I don't know. I think maybe that, not to say that it was a good opportunity, but I think that really allowed a space for all the participants to encourage each other, and I think gave me hope for the future of my business as well, knowing that, like, hey, we're kind of in a ditch right now. Things are just gonna look better from here. So
they have that saying that I like to believe challenges. Opportunities are taking advantages of those challenges, right? And Marie, we can talk a little bit about how you guys had to like pivot, right? And in any business, you have to learn to pivot, right? And if you don't, you're not going to survive, right? Because you get these curveballs all the time, so you have to learn how to catch it or how to play that field, right? Tell us a little bit about pivoting.
Oh gosh, I think in the restaurant business as well as in manufacturing business, you kind of got to listen to the community. You got to understand where the need is, and I think not that I even like to mention the word COVID, but I think for us that opportunity to help the community and to exist in a different capacity was a huge challenge for us. But at the same time, I had to look at my team, and it's like we stayed open, but you learn so much about yourself and your coworkers. You learn that not only do you manage the business, you own the business, but you also cook, you also wash the dishes, you manage to do more things than you think you're actually capable of doing. And in that short time, you have to look at the community and say, okay, what do I need to do to make their lives, everybody's lives, a little bit easier? How are we going to help all these people around us that need our help? And for food, everybody needed food. So we were kind of in a good position that we were able to accommodate. And the way B&G is set up, our first initial plan, we were supposed to be this big H2 worker camp that never happened back in 2010. So we had all this great equipment with nothing to do. So we were able to produce a large amount of food safely in a short amount of time. So we managed to feed a lot of people with very little management and very little people behind us. So we did that. We did a lot of the to-goes. We created family platters that would feed families where, when they would get home, they didn't have to worry about those things. And so we did a lot. But most importantly, we learned a lot about ourselves. We learned about what we could actually do and how much that meant to us to be there for the community, not knowing what was going to happen tomorrow.
No, and I think that's important is really just being open-minded as a business owner, is just being able to be open-minded. I liked your point how you talked about, as a business owner, you wear every single hat imaginable, right? And you're from finance to operations to HR to, if you delivery, chef, cook, whatever and I guess as we talk about it, what is one of the jobs that when you came in as an owner, or even now, what are one of those jobs where you're just, you do it, but you're also very happy you have other people to do it? Does that make sense? But you learn to do it, right? Maybe it's not your strength, but you also, because you're a business owner, you have to figure out how to make it part of your strength. So, Mika, you've kind of been running a huge operation, and that involves every part of everything imaginable in a business.
During COVID, as I'm sure you all experienced, we had to lay off a lot of employees. But the business still goes on. You still have to do things. So I worked in my kitchen for, I don't know, at least 6 months. I mean, that's really all I did. Every day I peeled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of eggs. I'm an expert now at egg peeling. And you just you do what you have to do to survive. And after the typhoon, my job was going to the stores to pick up ice because we couldn't use the water and the ice machines weren't working, and so I had to drive around from store to store, filling my car up with ice and delivering ice to 14 cafes. That was my job. Yeah, so you do what you got to do to survive.
I think it's that adaptability, though, is what leads to like our individual successes, is being able to say, this isn't working, this is working, let's go here. Now it's not working anymore, let's go here. And just I think there's a certain type of resiliency that comes from that I know I don't think I had before I started this business. I feel a lot stronger and a lot more, okay, let's figure it out, let's go with the flow, and what's the best choice here that serves the most people.
I think she said something too that was really a good buzzword, is the resilience part. Because I know coming up before I opened the business, working down in Tumon, going through like 9/11 and having to go through all those things in management, having to deal with that, I think that kind of grooms you for whatever's down the road. How to be resilient, or Guam has seen so many different things that it makes you just wonder, okay, we've been there before, we can do this, it's just roll our sleeves up and do what we got to do.
Yeah, I think you kind of have this, after you go through that, and you're like, well, if I handled that, I can go through anything, just bring it on.
Yes, and I think Guam is good for that, in that we're very resilient people.
So Lou, for you, what do you think was that aha moment, that moment that just kind of set the tone for you?
I felt like there were so many moments in my life where I was like, oh, okay, not going there. So, or, oh, this is right. So I guess like in terms of, I feel like I'm going down the right path. I would spend hours and hours on designing my app, on, learning the skills that I need, the very intense technical skills to actually build something with no back end or coding knowledge. And I was willing to wake up and spend like hours just constantly learning, and I'm still doing that, but I love it. Like I lose track of time. I get in trouble with my partner because he says, hey, we're supposed to be doing this, and yet, you're still doing work. And so for me, I think when I feel like there's a connection to home, along with developing skills that I know that are extremely valuable and are building something that I think could be really important to my home and help the people in my life that I love. And I think simply doing those things and realizing, hey, I'm actually kind of good at this. Hey, I actually really enjoy this. For me, I guess that was a slow aha moment for me, which led me down this path. And I mean, this is pertaining to the app that I'm doing now, but I think an aha moment prior was when I was like, work at a job isn't for me.
Yeah.
I need to do something else.
No, and I think it's important, as we go through life, trying to really find, what we enjoy, what we love, looking at what those pivotal moments are. I remember meeting Lou through actually the mentorship program. We were just doing kind of a nice, mixer, and that's where I met her, and she just had a really nice, bubbly personality, and, was just going through and trying to figure life out just like we are. And so I think mentorship is truly important when it comes to running a business, and you don't realize how much it is until actually people talk about it, because people don't talk about it. Oh, who's your mentor? Oh, who's your mentor? What do you think about mentorship? Do you think it's important? And
I think it's vital because there's so many moments as a business owner where I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing and I want to do it right. Even just since moving here to the island, there have been so many other small business owners, me included, that I just feel like I've been able to look to, I've been able to converse with, I've been able to just have honest conversations with about finances, about management, about how to make things work. That we could just try to do it all on our own, but it would be very, very painful and very, very frustrating. So I feel like I talk to my mentors back in the States all the time still of like, how do you guys do this? How is this working? And even now, so many other businesses here on island that I'm constantly emailing, constantly texting. Maybe they're annoyed with me, but I'm just like, how do I make this happen? Because I want to be successful and I want the people that work for me to be successful as well. And I hope that I can, give that in return and maybe be someone else's mentor someday.
Absolutely, and managing people, managing your business is never easy. Every day I wake up and I'm just, I hope I'm doing a good job running my own business, and sometimes I have to try to figure it out, and I need that help. But, I guess, talking about managing people, I think, Mika, we were, having discussions, and I mean, learning of how you guys started. I think you guys started as a 3-man operation, and how many team members do you have now?
We have almost 200 people now.
Wow,
And,
I mean, I am nowhere near that much of a team, but how do you do it? How do you manage 200 people? I don't even know if I know 200 people. Do I? Maybe not. I don't know.
I have to say it's getting harder and harder to remember people's names, but I have good people I have good managers that help to manage people, but a lot of our managers are very young. They are first-time managers as well, early 20s, and they too struggle with, how HR issues, and that's something that we're always learning about. But something that really stuck with me over the years is that you're never going to have that perfect employee, and I try to tell my managers that don't focus on the negative parts of an employee. Focus on their strengths, and try to build your team with those different strengths. Okay, yes, this person may not be good at everything. This person may not be good at making coffee, but they're really good at talking to the customers, and this person may not be good at talking to customers, but they're really good at making coffee. And so it's kind of pieces of a puzzle. You find everybody's strengths and you work with that, and you learn to be understanding. You learn to be nurturing. I find that you have to be strict, but if you're teaching them along the way and you're telling them what your expectations are, in turn they respect you, and they trust you. So there's got to be a lot of trust there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marie, you have, I knew you since Planet Hollywood days, and just kind of seeing where you and your company has developed, how you guys have grown. For me as a business owner, I guess, I've seen you guys grow, but my big question for you is, how do you know when you're ready? Like, that's the next thing to do is, let's expand, let's do this, let's venture out. Like, when do you know how to do that?
I think when we started B&G Pacific, and the B is Borja, the G is Guerrero. So literally, Mark would drive the truck and I would take the order and we'd go to deliveries together. And we had Chef John, and he was the one who cooked. So that was it. That was us. And then as we kind of grew, we were technically a commercial kitchen. So commercial stuff, catering, those types of things. And that's when it kind of bumped into the cookies. Yeah. And so we were doing so many cookies for so many nonprofits that someone was like, why don't you package that? And I was like, okay, good idea. And so one opportunity opened, and once you get into a different area, you realize, oh my God, I can do this, this looks good, and then you just kind of keep moving. And as you grow, you almost outgrow your space. You grow out, you outgrow your whatever it is your goal was. It's like, okay, what's my next challenge? What's my next challenge?
Are you always looking for that?
I'm always looking. And it's not, sometimes I don't physically look, they just kind of come hit me in the face, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, we can do that. And I don't even know if I can or not, but I want the challenge to do so. So one opportunity opened another door, that opportunity opened another door. But how do you know to expand? I think when, for us, B&G Pacific, we had to go through the failure of being in a small space. When Planet Hollywood shut down, I took their kitchen, and we outgrew that space, and then so the expansion happened organically. So when we finally found 3 squares, it wasn't supposed to be 3 squares. It was going to be our commercial kitchen. And at that point, Mark and I looked at each other and said, we're restaurateurs, you know, this is the best time for us to kind of like play a little and have fun, but at the same time work. So that's how 3 squares even happened. Yeah, so you just kind of outgrow yourself in a way that's positive, and then you wonder what's going to happen, what's in the next door, you know. So that's how you know, at least for me, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I am so just engulfed in this conversation of just learning of how you guys had continued to venture through your businesses, through life, figure it out, manage people, manage your workload, try to figure out where that next journey or where that next road's going to take you guys to. I guess a big last question for me is there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there in our community who's trying to figure out, is this for me? Is this not for me? Should I do it? Should I not? So if you were to give them one advice, what would that one advice be? Let's go.
Ooh, I guess one of the advices that I use today, because I think one issue when stepping forward is being able to not be hard on yourself for the choices you made in the past, regardless of what those choices are. And so I'd be very hard on myself for, making a decision, for not making or understanding who I am now before. And so one thing that I learned was you shouldn't use who you are as a guide to where you want to be, because who you are now is a reflection of your past. And so if you could visualize who you want to be in the future and like the type of person, like what do you want to do? Like what do you enjoy, and visualize that person, how they look, then use that as a guide to make those steps to get there rather than who you are now. And so with that, I kind of choose to live each day with intent. This is where I want to go. This is what I need to do to be that person. And so that's, I guess, one advice that I would give.
Nice. Mika?
I don't know, there's so much advice out there, but I guess one thing that really sticks with me is that, don't focus so much on the money part of it. Enjoy what you're doing and be passionate about it, and hopefully that success will come, naturally.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I think for me, and I tell even the staff that I have now, or even my kids for that matter, it's whatever you're going to do in life, whether it's entrepreneurship or anything, just make sure that you love it. And it's something that you really organically love to do. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be in food and beverage for so long, and not that many people can stay in food and beverage long, but I absolutely love it. And I think I just got lucky by enjoying it so much. It just kind of, it's what I am. It's part of that circle of life for me. You love, you eat, you drink, you sleep, you go to the restaurant. But, so if you're going to be an entrepreneur, just whatever it is, make sure that you really know it in and out wholeheartedly. That's your soul. And there's going to be things like, Mika said, sometimes you throw it on the wall and it doesn't stick. Mm-hmm. It's okay. But as long as what you do is what you're true to yourself, you're true to, just be truthful about it, and it'll come back. Yeah.
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give is trust that you have something to bring to the table, that you as a young entrepreneur or a woman or whatever field you're in, that you, through your unique experiences, your education, just your life in general, are going to have a completely different perspective on how to run a business and what kind of business is going to work. I tell the other businesses that work with us all the time, I want you there. And I think that's an important thing to feel as a business owner, is that you are valuable and that you're important to the community, and that community has your back as you have them. So yeah, just trusting yourself and trust that you have something good to offer to the community.
Well, thank you guys all. This was so inspirational. I love that you guys absolutely love what you guys do, and I give you guys the best in all your future endeavors. Wish your businesses all the best, and just continue to work out in the community, inspire others, and we'll continue to work with you guys and see how we can continue to grow Guam. So thank you guys so much for your time today.